What's going on, guys? Welcome to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp. If you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. And when I say paranormal, I mean cryptids, I mean ghosts, I mean UFOs. Anything weird, anything supernatural, I want to hear it. So if you do have one of these encounters, shoot me a message, leave me a comment. Find me on Facebook. You can send me a message there. But I want to hear your paranormal encounters, and maybe we can have you on the show. On tonight's show, we have Kruse coming back from the She Squatchers for part 2 of our conversation. I really do appreciate all the support I've been getting on all the platforms. If you'd like to support the show, the easiest way you can do that, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, watch the videos all the way through, hit like, comment, let me know how I'm doing. You know, if you think I'm doing bad, let me know. I might delete your comment, but that's okay. At least I know I'm doing bad. Make sure you're sharing out the episodes to all your friends, all your social medias. That's the best way I can grow the show. Let me know what you think of the new intro and outro music. I kind of like it, but I haven't gotten any feedback on it yet. So let me know in the comments. And with that, let's start the show.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Myths, monsters, and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Myths, monsters, and mullets run amok.
But I've had people contact me looking for boys that got lost out at sea. I'm like, listen, even if they're alive and I can see them, if I could see what they see, it's just going to be water. I can't locate them with that. Water is water, you know,
Yeah, all looks the same,
that kind of thing.
especially when you're away
Yeah,
from land.
yeah. So with that and with remote viewing, I started doing remote viewing for paranormal investigation teams before I did Bigfoot. And so did I ever tell you how that went? Did I tell you that on the first interview about when I first did a remote view for a paranormal team?
I don't think you said about the paranormal team. I know we talked a little bit about Bigfoot, but I
Okay.
really do need to apologize again. I was so rushed because we had those storms coming in. I felt so bad that we had to cut that first interview short. So we didn't get into a whole lot during that. So yeah, let's go into that.
Okay, so the very first time I did a remote view for a paranormal team, they gave me this address to a house that they were going to go look at. Somebody had asked them to come and help because they had a haunting that was getting kind of violent. And that's all they knew. That's it. They gave me the address, asked me to look at it. So see what I would come up with when I looked at it. So I pulled it up on Google Maps, Google Earth, and I started looking at the property, and I started asking questions about the property. What's happening here? Um, what's going on? And I started to see visions, right? I start to see images on top of the image that I'm looking at. Sometimes it's a movie of images, and sometimes it's just an image, and very rarely does it come with sound. Sometimes it does, but not usually. So I first see a spirit bear looking at itself, feeling very sad. Doesn't want to be here anymore. And then I see 3 Indians staring at the bear all the time. And they're in a row. And the one has a wolf pelt on his head. The next one has the feathers like a chief's headdress. And the one next to that has a bison fur with horns on its head. And these 3 Indians are staring at the bear all the time. Then I see a hunter running at me, yelling about something they never should have done. Never should have done this. He's got his rifle, he's screaming. I can't hear exactly. All I got is they never should have done this. And then I see a human body in the house, dead. I'm like, human body's dead in the house? Yep. Is it a cremation? No. I'm like, there's a human dead body in the house. Yes. Do they know it's there? Yes. Did they kill this person? No. So it's a cremated person then? No. It has to be a cremated person. No, it's not. It's a human body dead in the house. They know it's there. They didn't kill them. I'm like, that can't even be true. That's impossible. That can't even be true. And I argued and argued and argued and argued. And I kept asking the same questions, trying to clarify what this information was. No, it's a human dead body in the house, not cremated. They know it's there. They didn't kill him. It's not buried. Not buried. What? So all I could do was, at that point in time, after going over it, hashing over it, arguing with it, I just wrote it down. Wrote down what I got. I was like, okay, whatever. Then I saw these weird things running through the house, just mad, just really raging mad. What is that? It wasn't a human spirit. I had never seen these things before. I'm like, what is that? And the more I asked, what is that? The more I was seeing them, and they had this weird, it wasn't really hair, but it was coming off their head. And the more clear it got, it was like branches, tree branches coming off their head. And they were just this little creatures. And they were so mad at these people. And they were the ones who were causing the problem. And I'm like, okay, what are they? And I kept asking, what is that? What is that? And then I saw tree branches for hair. And I'm like, are they tree spirits? Yes. Okay, I guess there's tree spirits. They're pissed. They're pissed at these people. So I wrote it all down and I gave it to the leader of this paranormal investigation team that asked me to try this. Now, this was my first try. I gave it to him. He looks at it. He goes, I don't know, Jen. That doesn't seem like that could be true. And I'm like, I agree with you. I probably am not good at this. Because I don't see how that could be true either. But that's what I got. So there it is. Have at it. So we just decided I'm probably not good at this. And away they went, right? They get there. He calls me, Jen. What? I'm at that house. Oh, yeah? You're not going to believe this. I'm like, okay, tell me what's up. He says, I walk in the door. First thing I see is this giant stuffed black bear. Across the wall from it, on the wall, are these three Indian masks hanging that are looking at the bear. One's got the wolf pelt, the next one has the feathers like a chief's headdress, and the next one next to that has the bison fur with the horns on it. They're like masks with real furs on them and stuff. And they're all staring at the bear. And he said, and then we go in the basement. He said it was horrifying. You wouldn't believe it. I go, what? He goes, the guy who lives there is trying to learn how to be a taxidermist. The basement is filled with mutilated animals that he's killed, trying so that he could try to learn how to be a taxidermist. And it is he's just mutilated, and it's horrible. It was terrifying. It was like a house of horrors because they didn't even look right anymore. The animals that he was trying to taxidermy. He said, he was just killing them to do it, and the whole place was filled with these dead animals. I'm like, oh, the thing they never should have done. The hunter was saying he never should have done that. That makes sense. And he goes, and get this. There's a dead body in the house. I said, shut up. I said, tell me about the dead body in the house. Is it cremated? He said, no. He said they purchased a mummy from a museum that went out of business. They had a human dead body in their house. They had a mummy.
Oh,
Okay, and then he said, and they lived in the house for like 20 years and nothing bad ever happened. Nothing weird ever happened until the day the cedar tree in the front yard fell over, and then all hell broke loose in the house. That's when the haunting started, and it was just violent. And I'm like, that's the tree spirits. They're pissed. They're pissed at these people for killing these animals.
so it waited till the tree fell down for the spirits to be released or whatever.
Guess they came in and saw what was happening. Yeah. So that was my first try. So I mean, I'm this rational thinking person, just like everybody else. When a psychic tells me something, I'm like, yeah, that could be true for anybody. There's a lot of that stuff that psychics say could be true no matter what. Your grandma says hello. Of course, your grandma says hello, right?
Right.
But But that's really specific stuff that I didn't even believe could be true, right?
Holy
So
cow.
through that process, I learned, even the next one that I did was funny because it gave me another address to another haunted house that he was going to go to. It still didn't know anything other than that people were having an issue. So he gives me the address and I start looking at it and I see something that makes absolutely no sense. I'm seeing a two-story giant cat sitting at the back door, staring at the door, obsessed with the door, waiting for someone to open the door, and just obsessed with the door. Just can't look away. Just is right there at the door. This giant two-story cat. I'm like, all right, that is ridiculous, but okay, I'm writing it down. You know, and a bunch of other things came through and I don't even remember those details because we're talking years ago now, um but the guy calls me after he goes there. He's like, Jen, you're not gonna believe this. Your two-story cat. I'm like, yeah. He goes, there were like 28 cats sitting at the back door, staring at the door, obsessed with the door, waiting for somebody to open the door. 28 cats. He counted them. I bet if you stacked them, maybe they'd be two stories tall.
Right.
So it was a
Like you add them all
giant
together and
cat
they
presence.
equal two
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a giant cat presence there. So, I mean, even though the vision itself didn't really make sense, it made sense when you went there, right? So, through the process of doing this work through paranormal teams, that I wasn't even ever going to those locations, I learned that I was pretty accurate with what I was seeing through the remote views, right? So, when we got the idea of going to look for Bigfoot, I thought, wonder if I could scan the woods and look for Bigfoot the way that I geographically remote view paranormal haunted houses and locations. I mean, I was seeing dead bodies under the ground to be like, there's a mass grave right there, you know, things like that. So, I mean, like, could I see Bigfoot? Could I see Bigfoot in remote view? This was my question. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. I feel energy on a physical level. Like it's not just a good vibe, like, oh, I get a good feeling from you. No, it's a physical zzz in my body. And everything has its own energy frequency that resonates at a different frequency. So when we decided to go out and look, I was asking to feel the energy of Bigfoot. Can I sense the energy of Bigfoot when Bigfoot is near or in the location where Bigfoot is? And sure enough, I could. So the very first time we went out, I started feeling this weird energy sensation. We're driving along this road in the woods where a recent sighting had happened nearby there. We didn't know exactly where, we just knew it was by this lake. Um, so we're driving around the lake on this little road, and I started feeling this energy that I'd never felt before. And I was holding the intention of let me feel the energy of Bigfoot. So when I started feeling an energy, I was like, this must be it. We stopped, we looked around and not seeing anything that would lead me to think that Bigfoot was here, just the feeling of that energy that I hadn't felt before. So I dropped a GPS coordinate on it, recorded the location, and we decided to come back there that night. And that's where I had my very first encounter, the very first time rocks were thrown at me in the dark. Um, and I saw Bigfoot on thermal. And then we heard them coming towards us all around, like multiple Bigfoots were approaching. You could hear the big stomp, 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 bipedal movement. Sticks were cracking and snapping as they were walking. And it was first just one coming towards us from the other direction of the one that I saw on the thermal. It was coming from the other direction. And then it's like somebody snapped their fingers, and that sound of that large bipedal thing walking towards us multiplied, and now there's something coming at us from multiple directions, same type of sound. And there was five of us girls there that night, and it was so dark you couldn't see anything. And I had brought paranormal investigators with me on our first try, thinking they have night vision cameras. We need that to see in the woods at night, right? We found out real quick that those night vision cameras don't do shit in the forest. They may light up haunted houses just fine, but out in the forest, you can't see anything. They don't light up anything. You hardly see anything at all. It doesn't work out there. So we're standing out there blind in the dark, and we circled up back to back, facing out. We didn't talk about what to do if we were in trouble. We just did that on instinct. And as everything's coming towards us, and we're like, "Can you see it? Can you see it? Can anybody see it?" Nothing. Nobody could see it. Um, and so then one of the girls said, "Jen, do your tobacco thing." Well, we were on an Indian reservation. It wasn't my reservation, but it was an Ojibwe reservation, and I'm part Ojibwe, and I do speak some of the language. And what she meant was give a prayer, give a tobacco offering and a prayer. So I took the tobacco out of my pocket into my hand, and I started to pray out loud in Ojibwe. And I did it the most formal protocol greeting you could ever think of. I used every one of my spirit names given to me in sacred ceremony. I gave my clan, where I come from, who named me. I started naming my relatives. And that's a very, very old traditional way of introducing yourself to spirits until you say something until they recognize who you're talking about, till they know somebody that you're talking about. Anyway, so then I said, Miigwech, ne miigwech, which is thank you to the little people, the nature spirits, right? And then I said, Miigwech Gitchi Sabe, which is thank you to Bigfoot. And as soon as I said that, the noise, the movement, everything went silent. Everything just stopped. It didn't retreat. It just, everything went completely, I mean, it was just silent. All that movement was gone. And we were just standing there in silence. And I'm like, yes! Because I had talked to the elders from the reservation over and asked them about Bigfoot. And one of the elders had told me that you could pray through Gitchi Manitou, which is the Great Spirit, or what the Christians call the Holy Spirit. You can pray through the Great Spirit and talk to anybody, connect with anything, anywhere, because it's like the Great Connection, the Great Interconnection, the Great Interwebs, if you will. It's our Great Wi-Fi, is the Holy Spirit, right? That Great Spirit. It connects us all, and you can access connection with anybody through that Great Spirit, through that Holy Spirit, through Gitchi Manitou is what they call it, right? And so you can connect with anything. And so you could pray through the Great Spirit to connect you with anything. And you could do that to connect with Bigfoot and ask him for help, and he will help you. And so when I thanked Bigfoot through Gitchi Manitou, they stopped. It all just stopped. And we just stood there in the quiet. And one of the girls that was there was like, "I'm scared, let's go." And so we jumped in the car and we drove away.
I don't know.
And
I
I
think if
found
I
out.
was surrounded like that too, I would probably be pretty scared too.
Yeah. Well, I found out very quickly that the girls that were with me that night were not going to cut it, right? That first of all, their cameras didn't do shit. Like I wanted them to in the dark. So that didn't work out at all. That was the main reason I chose them to come along that night to try it out. But then I went home and I told Jenna what I had done. And she was so mad that I didn't take her with me. But I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody I was going to go look for Bigfoot. I didn't believe in Bigfoot. So I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that I was going to go look. But I did. I went to look just because I took a dare, right? Got to go. Somebody assured me that they're out there. I'm going to go, fine, I'll go look. And they were there. And after I had that experience, I was so hooked. I wanted to get out there and do more and more and more. But some people were just really scared. And one of the things that they literally said when we were driving away, I don't think I want to find Bigfoot for real. Maybe he could just step out in front of the car and we could take a picture, and that would be okay. But this is way scarier than crucifixes falling off the wall. So, so I went home, and Jenna wanted to be a part of it, and so she was immediately part of it. And then I asked Tammy, and she wasn't able to join us right away, but when she was able to, she did. And so, in the end, it was us three, and so we became the perfect trifecta. And the three of us are soul connected. And I say that with great knowing and confidence that we are soul connected. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. We're soul sisters. In my opinion, we are part of the same soul. We are just bits of the same being, having a different experience at the same time. And so they are me in essence, me, and I am them. And so when we leave this place and we finally go back to the source that we come from, we'll be one person and we won't be separate anymore. And so when you find those people who are your soul connections like that, soulmates, if you will. People say soulmates and they have this romantic idea of what that means. And yeah, that can mean that too. But because you can have soulmates that are male and female. But when you surround yourself with those people who are your soulmates, you're stronger. You know more. The energy is just incredible. And when we're together, that energy just goes boom, 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 boom. And we know more. We're more connected. We're more psychic when we're together. It's just an amazing thing. And then we each have our own, we can do some of the same things. Like I'm really good at the remote viewing. I'm really good at that. I taught them how to do it. They can do it too. So when I see something on a remote view, when I'm looking at satellite imagery and I can lock down a location, I throw a GPS coordinate on it. It's there. There's something there. I send it to them and have them look. I don't tell them what I'm seeing there. I drop it next to it, not right on it, because I don't want to cloud where it is exactly. Like the pin would cloud the vision of it. So I do it right next to it. And I say, what do you see in this area? And they come back with what they see. And though there's one is a perfect example. Tammy and I were going to go out in the wintertime to this place in Minnesota. I started remote viewing locations, and I saw in this one spot, I saw a Bigfoot with a mountain lion, like it was his pet, his companion. I was like, are you kidding me? I drop a coordinate down next to it. I sent it to Tammy. I said, what do you see here? And she says, I'm seeing a Bigfoot with a mountain lion. How is that even possible? Like they're together. I'm like, yeah, that's what I saw. So we when we see what each other sees in the remote view, then we call that a good hit. Not that I doubt my hits at all, but no psychic is 100%. But I have to say that because no, I'm most of the time usually 100% on, but I have to say that all psychics are not 100% all the time. But when one of us sees something and the other one sees it in the same place, then we call that a good hit. There's definitely something there. And if we can get to that place, we like to go there. And we like to look at places that are accessible to vehicles so we can just drive up, jump out, and go. They are near the roads, believe it or not. You can find places that are not so far off in the beaten path, and you can do that. And
Well,
so, yeah,
I mean,
that's,
like I think there's a statistic out there that it's well over like 85% of all encounters are roadside encounters. So I mean, they're obviously alongside the roads.
yes, yes. So, I mean, it works for us. And when we first started, we were finding footprints, we were finding den-like structures that were literally den-like structures. And some of the ones that were being found had holes dug in the inside of them down into under the ground. Now in Minnesota, where there aren't caves and all that, if they're not using fire, they need to get underground to survive the winter, right? They would have to. And that stuff is kind of stuff was being found on my reservation. Now, my reservation is a closed reservation. You can't go there and just get out and go off into the woods. You're not allowed. That's illegal. You'd be in big trouble. You'd actually go to jail for that unless you had a tribal member with you, like me. And if you watch any of our documentaries, searching for Sasquatch, this She Squatchers documentary was filmed on my reservation, and we're out in the woods and I'm the only travel member there, and they're told you have to be with me, you have to stay with me, do not leave me. And we're off in the woods, da da da, it's dark, it's night, da da da, and they're like done. So they're like, some of them are like, we're gonna go back to the car now, and Jason and I are still doing stuff, right? So they leave me, and what happens? Here comes the police. And they're like they're like, who are you? And they're like, we're with Jen Cruz. We're with Jen Cruz. And he's like, I don't see Jen Cruz. Because I wasn't anywhere near them. I was way off in the woods. And they were in trouble because I was not with them. They were not with me. And just because I knew the guy, they did not go to jail.
Pays to know
So
people.
yeah, I know he was my elder's nephew. So that was the only. I mean, he saved everybody. They would have been in jail for a long time. 90 days, I think it was.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be doing that. It's a closed reservation. So, yeah, don't be doing it. But I mean, we found so much stuff out there. And when we first started out, like, I have to tell you, I had maybe a little bit watched a handful of Finding Bigfoots on TV. like in passing, not even really paying attention. So I didn't know anything really. I didn't know that Bigfoot were known for throwing rocks at people until Bigfoot was throwing rocks at me. I'm like, what is happening here? I grew up in the woods. Nothing's ever thrown rocks at me before. This is ridiculous. It's dark. There's no people for miles. Who in the world is throwing rocks at us? Um, and but we were finding footprints, trackways. There was one time we were on my reservation, and Nikki, she was driving. She was on our team at that time. She's passed away now. But she was driving, and Jenna and I were in the car, and I had my awareness fully open, which I don't do that if I'm driving because that's like being in two worlds at once trying to drive a car. It's just not safe.
It's like the ultimate
So,
distracted driving.
right? And so I open my awareness, and I'm asking to feel the energy of Bigfoot as we're driving 55 miles an hour down the road, and I start screaming, "Stop and turn around. We got to get in that woods back there. There's something back there. I felt it. I felt the energy and it pulled me to the right. I'm like, there's something in the woods right there. And so we turn around and we go back and we find where we can drive in. And we didn't know that behind that woods was a gravel pit. We didn't even know there was a gravel pit there. And we pull in there and clear as day, these prints going up the steepest part of the hill, and they are massive, going all the way to the top. And Jenna and Nikki tried to climb up next to them, and they were on their hands and feet, and they would because it was so steep, it was
Wow.
literally like that, and they were climbing up next to them so they could look at each one and measure them, and they would take a little step and they'd slide back down, and they were on hands and feet crawling up that hill, and they made it up to the top. We measured all of it and all that, and we even casted some. It didn't turn out. The cast did not turn out at all because it was in the gravel pit, and we had no idea what we were doing. To be perfectly honest, we had no idea what we were doing. Oh, got something in my eye. All right,
Okay,
we're back.
before we had the eye injury, um, we were talking about the gravel pit.
Yes, the gravel pit. So we found this whole trackway going up to the top, and Jenna and Nikki get up the top. I'm going to be honest, I didn't go up there. There's no freaking way. They are much more athletic than I ever was. And I named Nikki that day. I named her Climbing Bear because she looked like a bear climbing up that hill. I'm like, Nikki, are you Bear Clan? She's like, I am Bear Clan. I'm like, I knew it. You look like a bear climbing up that hill. Um, anyway, she was native and Nikki Jordan, and she's passed away. So, may she rest in peace. But, anyway, so, uh, Jenna got to the top of the hill and I said, Jenna, where do the footprints go? And she said, circles. I was like, what are you talking about? So she's got her cell phone. She's taking pictures from the top of the hill where the footprints disappear. Okay, they disappeared in circles. And what that meant was at the top. So this is a old gravel pit. There's weeds and stuff growing on it, and they're several inches tall, maybe 6 to 10 inches tall weeds, white everywhere. But where the footprints stopped, where they disappeared at the top of the hill, there were these perfect circles. There were three perfect circles, and inside each of the perfect circles, there were circles within circles within circles, like perfect circles. And that's where the footprints disappeared at the circles. And all the weeds that had been there was completely smashed down in a circular format. All the weeds were standing up around those circles, but they disappeared at the circles. Now, get this. This is cool. So when I was first starting my look for Bigfoot, I went and talked to the tribal elders from different reservations in the area, right? And I was asking them to tell me about Bigfoot. Tell me about Sabe. And um, one of the elders told me from the Turtle Mountain Reservation, she told me that Bigfoot travels in an instant from one place to another through the ground. And I
Through the
said,
ground?
through the ground. And I said, are you talking about tunnels? Like they're running really fast from one place to another in a tunnel? No, through the ground. They're instantly traveling with a thought through the ground from one place to another, physical travel.
So not like, okay. So like opening up a portal on the ground or just,
That's what it sounded like to me. That's what it sounded like to me. Because I kept asking questions. I'm like, because they don't actually come out and say they travel through portals. They don't say that. They explain it in the way that they explain it. And so that she said they instantaneously travel from one place to another, physical travel with a thought through the ground. And there isn't a tunnel. And so I asked questions, and I finally said, "Are you talking about like a portal?" She's like, "Yeah." Okay, so now get this. Years before that, I'm watching TV, and on TV, I'm pretty sure it was an Ancient Aliens episode. If not, it was some other kind of archaeological thing. They start showing petroglyphs on my TV. I'm looking at them, and they're the ones with the spirals or the circles within circles. And I'm looking at them, and they're talking about maybe they're referencing stars. Maybe this is a star map, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, that's a portal. Intuitively, I knew that's a portal, and these are directions on how to open a portal, and this is and this is instructions on how to. And
yeah.
I
And,
knew
and,
that,
and they find those spiral patterns all over the world too. Not just,
yes,
like not just in the Americas. They find them all over the world. I
but that
think they're portals.
intuitively, I knew that, right? And my native elder told me that I could remember anything my ancestors knew. I had that inside of me. You can remember anything your ancestors knew. You just have to let it in, let it out, and remember it. And you can do all the things that they have done. And he told me, and this was such a fantastical thing to hear, that I couldn't really fully accept what he was telling me because, again, I have this very rational mind. That everything that he told me I held sacred, and everything that others tell me I hold sacred. I hold it close to my heart, and I try to understand everything that they tell me. But sometimes it's just so out there that it's hard to understand until you experience something that seems similar to that, and then you're like, oh, that's what they're talking about, right? But until then, you're like, I don't know, right? I get what they're saying, and I love and appreciate, and it's sacred to me, everything that they share. But it's really hard to understand sometimes. Anyway, he told me that my family, the medicine runs in the blood. It's not something you can learn. You have to remember it. And he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to remember what I used to know so that I could do those things again. And he said, you have to remember, you have to remember. And then he started telling me some of the things that my ancestors would do. And it was so fantastical that I was like, but he told me that back in the day, before the whites were here, um, we used to trade with the tribes in the Southwest, like the Hopi, right? So the Ojibwe would trade with the Hopi. And, I'm part Ojibwe, part Dakota, and part Omushkego, which is Swampy Cree. And so he said that your ancestors would do the trading for us. I'm like, okay. He said they could walk through the stone. What are you talking about? He said they would walk through stone here and they would end up there. I was like, what? He goes, physical travel through thought. They would walk through the stone, and they would walk through the stone here, and they would end up walking out of the stone there. And they would bring the things, they would trade with the Hopi, and then they would come back. And they did that all the time. And he said, but then one day, the Hopi had met them, and they did their trade, and the Hopi were walking away, and the Hopi decided to turn around and wave goodbye one more time, just in time to see them walk through the stone and disappear. And he said they never stopped talking about it ever since. Because they didn't know
So,
how they were
so
getting it.
you, so you
So
talk about walking through the stone,
he's talking
and
about
that brings
portals.
up, yeah, I'm thinking
But
portals too, but I'm
and then
thinking
here's
about in in Vermont, I think it's the White Mountain. They talk about the stones where people disappear. And
Hmm.
the natives talked about the stones where people disappear.
I would love to
Sounds like
hear
the
those stories.
same story.
Yes. And so he was trying to always push me to do it. He would push me to do it. Remember, remember, remember. I had already remembered the petroglyphs when I saw them on TV. I already knew what they meant. Intuitively, I just remembered what they meant. When I saw the pictures of it on TV and they're like, we think that this is a map of the stars. I'm like, no, it's not. That's a portal. And that's instructions on how to open the portal. And I knew it. And beyond a shadow of doubt, I absolutely knew that that's what that was. And I talked about it frequently until one day I decided, I really probably should look it up and just clarify and make sure that I actually am truthful and that that really is what that means. So I did a Google search one day for petroglyph portal image, and the images that came up were circles within circles within circles on the rock or the spirals. So I was absolutely right. Um, so this so in our journey since 2015 when we started this, when I really started, I had become so fascinated with petroglyphs and portals because of my elder pushing me to this, that I thought if I could get to a place where these petroglyphs were drawn like that, it only makes sense to me that they drew that because that's what it looks like when it's created, like the circles within circles within circles on the gravel pit where the footprints disappeared, that the sound of the frequency of a portal creates that pattern in the sand. I think that that's what that is, that that was a portal, that they went through it, leaving those circles, those perfect circles behind in the sand. So it makes sense to me that the natives would draw that or carve that on stone where that happened, where the portals were. Maybe they're not there right now, but maybe they're easily accessed there. Maybe they can be opened by somebody who knows how. And I thought if we could find out where those places are and go there, maybe I could figure out how to open them. Maybe I could remember how. And so whenever we've been traveling for Bigfoot, now it's funny, if you look up petroglyphs and you try to find out where those are anywhere near me, they don't tell you what kind of petroglyphs they got. They just say petroglyphs. You have to go there and look at them. I have yet to be in a location where it has those ones, that with those spirals or the circles within circles. I've yet to visit a place that actually has them in person. We have stopped at so many places to look at the petroglyphs in hopes that we would find one so that I could see if the energy felt different, to see it in person. So that's on my bucket list of things to do, is to go to a place where the portal petroglyphs are so I can see if I can feel it, see if I can open it. And Tammy will sure as heck walk through there with me. She's bound and determined. You know her. She's like, yeah, let's find the portals, let's jump through them. So that's one of the things that I really want to do. Um, and it's kind of got put on the back burner because we got so involved with looking for Bigfoot and all that. But if they are using those portals for travel, they've learned how to open them, they've learned how to access them, and that truly is through consciousness and through energy frequency for sure. It's not a machine. I think that we're all capable of doing that, and when we reach a certain level of enlightenment and then consciousness of mastering our own frequency of our own bodies, because we really are just energy. We aren't really physical matter. We are the illusion of physical matter. If you really look into quantum physics, you know that that's true. Science backs it up.
Yeah,
So,
I
I
mean,
mean,
science proves that there's more space in that wall that's next to you than there is physical atoms.
yes.
So yeah, it's all energy.
And I can even give you an example of something that everyone can try at home. I'm going to put my phone down so I can show it to you. If you do this with your fingers, if you do that with your fingers and you look at the space between your fingers and you just focus on that space between your fingers, you can start to see the energy flowing between your two fingers.
Now I got to try it.
Yeah, I gotta try.
That's not going to make for very good podcast material.
It probably won't.
I,
But everybody at home should try that one. Just clear your mind and let your eyes go soft. Remember those old posters at Spencer's who used to try to see the hidden picture? Let your eyes go soft like you're looking at one of those and just take in the beauty of the energy that's flowing between your two fingers. And remember, it's in a painting by Michelangelo of God reaching out to touch the finger of Adam, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's that energy connection that's what that was indicating. When I look at it, that's what I see. So there's that energy, that connection. And so that everyone is made of energy. Everyone has an energy frequency, their own aura, their own auric field, their electromagnetic energy field. Every human has one, everything has one, the earth has one, and we're all connected through that.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
portal thing, if those footprints went up to the top of that hill, did a circle, and there was no more footprints, that
They
would
didn't
explain a
descend the
lot.
hill anywhere. They didn't descend the hill anywhere. And on a gravel pit, you cannot hide footprints. You cannot.
Right. But that would explain a lot of the reports where, they're like it walked behind a tree and it was gone,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
just because it was a gravel pit, then that was sand. It left the circles behind. It left the
Right.
evidence of that behind. Yeah.
You're
So,
probably not going to
I
see
mean,
that out in the forest somewhere where the ground's hard packed or anything like that.
right. You won't see it. You won't see it. Yeah, for sure. I have seen a portal in the woods. I didn't. I was alone, which one of the rules that we made when we started the team was don't go into the woods alone. I was alone.
I won't tell anybody.
I was breaking the rules. And I felt called to walk this way. I was seeing a path was lighting up with this golden light. And when I'm doing a remote view, when I'm asking, is there any Bigfoot evidence that we can find here? Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes an area will light up this golden light color, indicating a whole area where there's stuff. And it just glows this golden light. And that helps me identify an area. When I was there in that moment in the forest, this path lit up this golden light showing me the path to walk. And there was an X. And it went right underneath the X. And it kept going. And I started to hear my name, a sing-songy voice calling me. Not Jen, Jennifer. Jennifer is my name, right? So it wasn't calling me Jen. Most people call me Jen. It was going, Jennifer, Jennifer. And it was calling me. And I felt called and compelled to walk this way. And just as I was doing that, and I got to the X and I was about to cross it, and I could see the path going, um, I had a memory in my head that screamed. And it was so loud. It was my friend, Maria, screaming, never to step into a fairy ring. They can take you and never bring you back. And I know that was my spirit guide just giving me that message so loud because I was in a trance. I was in a trance-like state and I was being called to walk into this portal. And I didn't even know that's what was happening. But when that happened, it shocked me and it made me realize, wait a minute, who's calling to me? The idea that somebody's calling me didn't even cross my mind that that was odd until that moment. And I'm like, wait a minute, who's calling me? There's nobody. What is going on here? And I realized I wasn't in control of myself. That scared me. I took off running in the opposite direction back to my car. And then I felt safe when I was in my car. So I drove up to the spot and I could see the path. I could still see it glowing. I rolled down my window. Do I still feel safe? I did. Do I still feel like I'm in control? I do. So I took my camera phone out, and I started taking pictures, one after the other. Because I learned with working with paranormal teams that if you're going to take pictures, take a lot of them and from the exact same place because if something changes, you'll be able to see the change in the progression of the picture, right? So I just click, 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 click. Didn't even look at it after that. And I wanted so bad to go out there and I felt like I was being called. And I'm like, where am I even called to? But I was scared of getting lost somewhere and not being able to get back, and nobody would know what happened to me. And I thought, well, my kid would never know where I was. I would just be missing 411. So I drove away. When I got back home, I started looking at the pictures that I took. And where that pathway was behind the X in the forest were these giant circles within circles within circles in several of the few of the pictures. And I was walking right into it. I was going to walk right into it. And so I wanted to go back because my adventure part of me says, let's walk into it. But I didn't want to do it by myself. I was scared, like, what is over there? What if I can't get back? So I didn't want to do it by myself. So I thought I found a friend who was willing to do it with me. And we went back there and it wasn't there anymore.
You got to remember, just like in the movie Poltergeist, you got to bring a long rope. Just bring it with you
Right?
all the time. Tie it around your waist, tie it to a tree. That way, if you go through, at least you can follow the rope back. I mean, that's what I would do.
Yes. So, but we have decided, my team, Tammy, Jenna, and I, that we have decided that we will jump into a portal when we find one. We will do it. We will. We will.
Just
So
take
if
the
we
rope.
just, yeah. So that's the thing. We decided that we will do it. We will do it. When we find one, we will do it. But I
You
just
just
didn't
make
want to do
sure,
it alone.
just have Jason stand back with this camera so he can videotape the whole thing. That way, if you don't come back, we still have proof.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So yeah, I mean, I wonder like who was calling to me. I can see things in those pictures, and I don't know if non-psychic people can or not, because when I look at stuff, I see things psychically, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's that other people can see it. Um, because when I look at the pictures, I'm like, what was there? And I see stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's actually in the picture.
Right.
It's not a pareidolia thing because the pictures move. That's more when I do the remote viewing, what I see on the picture changes. And it's either a still picture or it becomes a little movie. It's not, but people are probably like, oh, you're just saying pareidolia. Not when it's moving.
Right. Right. I have heard
Not,
people try to make that argument though for some of the Bigfoot footage that it's all pareidolia, and it's like it's a video. How is that pareidolia?
I will say on that defense, sometimes we would post video from our trips or whatever, and I don't like to spend a lot of time looking at stuff, so I'll just throw it up online and say, if you see something, let me know. That's the easy way to do it, right? Because lots of people will watch it like a hawk. And I'm like, if you see something, let me know the time. And I'll go look at it. Well, somebody had found something in one of our videos, and truly, it looked like there was something there. It truly did. On my phone, I was like, holy shit, there's something there. I walked right past it. But when I played that video on my giant 65-inch TV, they could clearly see it was a stump. It
Yeah,
wasn't. On my phone, it clearly looked like a Bigfoot. It clearly did. But
but the
when I
stump
blew it
wasn't
up on,
moving.
yeah, no, it wasn't moving, but it really did look like one. Uh, um, but when I was like, oh, I got to see that on a bigger screen. That's always the thing. If you see something on your phone, look at it on a big screen, and that's going to clarify it for you. It's either something or it's not. And if you can debunk something, do it. You don't want to think everything is a Bigfoot because everything isn't a Bigfoot. Um, so, we're not all la la land out here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah, for sure. I mean, I love it when people tell me they see something in the video because I'll go look at it and see if I see something there or not. But
right.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, we have the most fun, us girls. We really do. As a matter of fact, we started doing this in 2015, and I have not taken a real vacation until this last January. I went to Texas to visit Jenna for a week, and we promised each other, Tammy and I went, we promised we were not going to go look for Bigfoot. We weren't. We were not going to
Uh-huh.
do it.
Yeah,
We were
right.
just going to have a vacation and we were just going to relax. We were going to shop. We were going to go out. We were going to have fun. We were going to vacation stuff. And then we heard about sightings. And then we went out looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing some of the live streams and stuff. Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, in a couple weeks, we'll be in Florida on vacation. We are just going to vacation.
Forget about the skunk ape. Just go to the beach.
That's the plan. We'll see if it happens. I'm going to bring my shoes just in case.
Well, Jed, we've been doing this for almost 2 hours.
Oh
So
my gosh, has it been?
yeah, yeah,
I'm
about an
sorry.
hour
I
and
could go
50
on
minutes.
forever.
No, no, that's
I could
fine.
talk
That's fine.
forever.
Well, I was going to say, if you want to do this again sometime, I'd love to have you back on the
Sure.
show because I don't feel like we even really touched on Bigfoot that much. So
We didn't.
we
You said
didn't.
you wanted to talk about me, so I talked about me.
That's
And
right.
that's just
That's
a
right.
little bit about me. That's just a tiny little bit.
Well, when your schedule clears up a little bit, maybe I'll have you come back on and we can talk some more because, like you said, I feel like we could do this for another couple hours, but
Yes,
nobody's going to
I think
watch
we
a
could.
4 hour podcast. So this might even
You're
get
gonna have
broke
to.
up into two.
Hopefully, I'll be more entertaining for them if they'll want to listen more.
Oh,
But
your
yeah, for
stories were
sure.
amazing. I don't think it's going to be a problem for anybody wanting to listen. So,
Yes,
but
and I
yeah,
just want to make it clear, I do not like to look for missing people. It is so hard on me. I am so emotionally connected to stuff that it is so hard. I do not like to do it. Looking for Bigfoot is awesome. There's no emotional trauma with that at all. As a matter of fact, sometimes I see them and they wave at me. I've done remote viewing for other teams, and there was one where, and I'm telling them where they're at. They've had experiences in those locations after that. But there was one where I saw this group of adolescents, and they went, and so I was like, all right, I won't tell them that you're there. And I told them where the other ones were, and then the next day I told them there was adolescents over here, and I showed them where, and they're like, yeah, we heard stuff over there. We did. And they were like,
but
you weren't supposed to go near them. But but yeah, I saw that.
you did
So
your
yeah,
job.
I did my job. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good adventure. It's a fun adventure, and I'm really looking forward to a real vacation because I really haven't had one. Um, so we're I'm really looking forward to vacation. Everybody goes to like Hawaii or Mexico. I've never done anything like that. I'm always on some kind of an adventure. And not a vacation. I really am excited to have a vacation.
Yeah, you spent some time in Indiana.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
that's where I'm out of. So I mean, there are some very nice places in Indiana, but if I
Have
was
you
going
been to
to plan,
Scotchman's?
have I been where?
To Scotchman's spot?
I have
Greg
not.
Gillis? Oh my gosh. We've been there a couple times. We did a show out there, searching for Sasquatch 9. They Feast in the Shadows.
Yeah,
I was there. Yeah. Fun stuff.
yeah. Next time you guys are in Indiana, shoot me a message. I'll come and see you.
Absolutely. Well, you know what we try to do? If there's an event or anything that's getting put on, this is how we fund our travel. If they can bring us in to speak at the event, that pays for our travel, and then we just try to stay a little longer to have an adventure.
Right, right. Well, Jen, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and the She Squatchers?
Well, we have a website, shesquatchers.com. But really, we're on YouTube, which is She Squatchers Official, Facebook and Instagram, also She Squatchers Official. I'm on TikTok now. I'm fairly new there. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm almost there, and I've only been trying for a little over what, month and a half maybe. Um, so I'm Jen Kruse on there. I don't remember my exact link to my name. I'm sorry.
Well, I can put it in the description, and if people
Okay.
come to my lives, um, you know, I follow you on there. They can look through my followers and find you on there.
Yeah.
Um,
If you can put a
and
link to my
then,
link. I'm asking everybody to come follow me on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, especially subscribe to our channel. We do a weekly, well, we try to do, it's not going to be for a while because I'll be traveling now, but um, we didn't do one last week because Jenna was traveling and her plane got in too late. She was coming to me. And then this week, I'm traveling tomorrow. So we won't do a show tomorrow. Next week, I'm traveling on Wednesday, so we can't do a show then. Um, and then the week after that, I'm going to be in Florida. So when are we going to get the show in there? I just don't know.
well, I mean, you could do one from the beach or something.
We'll probably do one from the beach. You're right. You're right. But we've been trying to do Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central. There's a whole bunch of videos on our YouTube channel, but check the live section too. because that's where the new stuff is. Um, but yeah, come check us out on YouTube and subscribe so you can get to our lives and get notified when we're going live. You never know what we're doing. We're crazy girls.
Once again, Jen, thank you for coming in. And if you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Gotta go.
Shadow in the pines lurking in the dusky air. Bigfoot stomps through the woods like he don't care. Lights in the sky flash green then blue. Aliens descending with a secret or two. Whispers in the breeze, cold fingers down your spine. Ghosts in the graveyard, twisting through time. Eyes wide open in the dead of night. The myths and monsters giving one hell of a fright. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Down by the bayou, you hear a raspy growl. Swamp gas glowing as the coyotes howl. A UFO zipping just above the trees, grabbing hold of wonder like a southern summer breeze. Some call it crazy, others call it a lie. But listen real close as the truth passes by. The lines are blurry, the story's bold. John Methenkamp spins them into southern gold. Apparitions dancing in the smoky haze. Legends of the deep south told in hollers and bays. Bigfoot runs free, chasing shadow dreams. Aliens keep secrets like moonlight beams. No. Down by the bayou, you hear a raspy growl. Swamp gas glowing as the coyotes howl. A UFO zipping just above